So guys, for the last video of the day, I wanted to actually show to you a little bit of what could the South Koreans bring to the table for air, okay? So basically some aircraft that you might see in the South Korean part of the Korean tech tree. I'm gonna do a video about the South Koreans and then the North Koreans because there's so many vehicles that I would be doing a video for 50 minutes, right? So let's get going. And why am I talking about air before tanks? Because apparently it will be the first part of the tech tree, you know, that gets added will be for air, okay? So let's get going. So you will see some normal aircraft, like for example, the good old P-51. So the Mustang will be added in the D model for the South Koreans, probably, you know, being one of the first like proper fighters that they had. They had trainers as well, but the P-51 was one of the main fighters in the very early days of the South Korean Air Force, right? So in a general sense, P-51 is, you know, for sure probably going to appear in that tech. Another commonly known aircraft that will probably appear as well is the F-86 Sabre. So they used two models, the F-86F that we always love. I don't know the block exactly that they used, but it is going to be an F model, which is pretty good. It is one of the best, you know, F-86s that were ever presented. Of course, I'm still waiting for the H model for the Americans, but yeah, the F model for the South Koreans will probably appear. And then we have the F-86D as well, which is the F-86 that doesn't have guns, right? It is very similar to the K model with a radar and stuff, but it doesn't have a gun and it has just normal, like, non-guided rockets. It would be an interceptor using rockets for against, you know, bombers and stuff. So I doubt that we will see this version because it would be kind of hard to use in War Thunder. But the F model probably will be added, right? Then we talk about F5s. Yes, the F5s were present in the South Korean Air Force, right? With the F5A and F5E. Of course, B-placed versions with the B and F model as well, but probably in the game we will see the F5A and the F5E. When they were produced in Korea, some of them were produced in Korea or mounted in Korea, they are sometimes called the KF5 or the KF5E, right? With the A and E model respectively, right? So nothing too crazy to talk about. It will probably be just a normal F5, nothing too different from what we see in the normal F5s in the lower ranks, okay? Another one is the Phantom. Yes, they did use the Phantom, so of course the F4D model would be one of them, which is very good because it was an upgraded model from the C with a better radar, better electronics, and other improvements like the addition of better weapons. This version in particular could use the AIM-9J, even AIM-7E2, and initially were using the AIM-4Ds, right? So it would be a very similar vehicle to the C model, so no internal gun, but at the same time upgraded to be a little bit more closer to the F4E, right? Well, unfortunately, we never received this version of the F4, which is the second most produced F4 ever in the US, so why not get added to the South Koreans? That would be perfect, right? Also, another one would be the F4E itself, right? They did use the F4E as well, so it can be another aircraft that it's a little bit higher in BR, 11 point something, you know, depending on the weapons and stuff. So, yeah, with flares and everything, it would just be a little bit better, right? But very, very cool aircraft, both of them, especially the D model, which would be a little bit more unique, right? So, very, very cool. Then the KF-16, guys. Yes, they did use the, you know, the F-16s. There is basically two models, but honestly, we can have even like three models out of it. So they did use, all of them were with the PW engines. So they did use the Block 32 version of the F-16C and D, right? We can have these with the PW engine, right? And also, of course, being one of the lightest F-16Cs in the game, right? If not the lightest. So it would be a very good aircraft for dogfighting in a lower rank. Initially, they did use Sparrows on it, but of course, later they did, you know, introduce AIM-120s and stuff. I honestly would love to see an earlier model of the C model, like the Block 32 like this, with just Sparrows and AIM-9Ls in a lower rank, like a 12.7 or something. It would be a very good aircraft in performance, but with missiles that are on par with older aircraft, okay? So very cool. Another version is the Block 52. So the Block 52 would be the Block 50 that we have in the game, but using the PW engine. So here we can have kind of an earlier model with, of course, AIM-120s, AIM-9Ms, and even later AIM-9Xs, apparently. And yeah, basically they upgraded these versions with, even they say, some say that they even introduced it on a ESA radar, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, at least according to my sources. So we can have a version with helmet-mounted AIM-9Xs and an ESA radar in the future as well, of this Block 52, right? So yeah, that would be the KF-16, the KF-16C Block 32, KF-16 Block C Block 52, basically the the Falcons of the South Korea. And another American aircraft that they use is the F-15. Yes, they use the K model, the Slam Eagle model, which is basically an F-15E, but with many differences, internally. So the main one, I think, would be the sensors. So it has an APG-63V1 radar initially, can be upgraded later to an AESA if I think they are in the process of doing that, something like that, right? But at the end of the day, they have also an IRST. So yeah, you will see an F-15, E, that can be receiving the older 129 engine or the 229 engine, which is the upgraded one that we eventually got to the F-15E. So it doesn't matter. With an IRST and a different radar. So very different aircraft. It would be very cool to see. Always remember, guys, that the F-16s, the F-15s, all of these vehicles that we're going to talk about, they all can have mostly American-made stuff, but also some domestic stuff, like the KGG bombs that we got in the F-16 OCU in the last patch, right? So for the Japanese. So yeah, very cool, I think. Of course, the F-35 can be added. They are using the A model mainly, but they are considering the B model as well. Remember, that is the 5th generation jet made by the Americans. That can be one of the most modernized, like modern aircraft that we have in the game. We're not quite there yet, but we are getting closer and closer. So yeah, it's another nation that can receive the F-35. Remember, this would be the A model mainly. So internal gun, the best performing one because it is the Air Force one, right? So pretty good. And then the two last vehicles that we're going to talk about are domestically built vehicles. So the first one would be the FA-50 or T-50 Golden Eagle. This is basically a 4th generation kind of light fighter, light attack aircraft. That it's also used as a trainer. So this has a pretty interesting, performance. So it uses a 404 engine and GE engine, right? And it has a max speed of around Mach 1.5 with 200 meters per second of a climb and around 1.0 of a thrust to weight. So pretty good performance. It can have a 20 millimeter 3-barrel Gatling gun, and also AIM-9Ls, AIM-9Ms, AIM-9Xs, depending on the version. AIM-120s, depending on the version of the vehicle, because it got a new radar, etc., right? Mavericks, guided bombs and stuff. We can have many variants of this vehicle. Not going to get too much into every single one. When we get this vehicle confirmed to come, I will be doing a video talking about the versions and stuff, but we can have trainers, light attack versions that can do BVR. So there are many ones, and many countries use this vehicle as well, right? So very cool, domestically built South Korean jet. And the last one is another one that it's a little bit further into the future, just like the F-35, but it's also domestically built. The KF-21, still in its prototype phase, but it's supposed to be introduced very soon, like next year, right? So this is kind of a 5th generation jet. They are normally calling it like a 4.5 generation for now, but in the future, it might be upgraded to be a 5th generation. We don't know exactly yet. In a general perspective is that for now, it's a 4.5. So we are not really, jumping too much in performance over here. But since in the future, this thing will be a 5th generation jet, apparently, we probably are not quite there yet. But yeah, domestically built main fighter that is supposed to be substituting the 4th generation jets of the South Koreans. So it uses the better 414 engine. It has 2 of them. Mach 1.8 max speed, so pretty fast. I don't know how much it can climb or turn or whatever, but it's supposed to be using semi-stealth features for now in the earlier blocks, and it will be very modern, using an ESA radar, IRST, very modern targeting systems, of course, Meteor missiles, IRIS-T missiles, some Korean missiles as well, maybe in the future, and guided and unguided stuff, like the GGB, the JDAMs and everything, right? So it looks a little bit like the F-22, and it is probably going to eventually be ready and eventually be added to the game. But yeah, it would be very, very cool to see this. One of the different 5th generation jets that we might actually see in the future, right? Eventually when it becomes a full-on 5th generation jet. And basically this is it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye, guys. See ya.